This is the word of the Lord. Amen.
Ezekiel chapter 6. We're in a series at the moment in the book of Ezekiel, so I thought it'd be good to recap the previous 5 chapters. Remember chapter 1, Ezekiel, who used to be the priest, he's now a prophet, and he's in exile deep inside enemy territory, inside the evil empire of Babylon, digging radishes by the Kilda River with his people, within sight of the evil metropolis of Babylon. And he has this vision. He has a vision of God's glory. And in this vision of fire and shining stones and lightning and fierce creatures, he sees a man in the middle. And God gives him a message about the reality of sin and the reliability of rescue. Gives him a message to communicate to the other exiles, to his people. And yet, the people they'll have stubborn hearts, they'll have spiritually deaf ears. And so God has him start with parables. Before he speaks a message, he does these strange parables. And we saw them last week, and these parables show us the uncleanness of sin. They show us how sin makes us unclean. And then finally, when Ezekiel starts speaking as a prophet in chapter 6, his first topic is spiritual geography. Spiritual geography. And that's what this particular chapter is about. And that's how Ezekiel begins his message. Why do I say spiritual geography? We'll take a look at verse 3. Can you see the reference there to the mountains of Israel? And can you see the reference to hills and ravines and valleys and high places? Again, across in verse 13, there's a reference to trees and oaks, mountain tops, leafy trees, spreading trees. This chapter 6, is full of geographical imagery. And to kind of understand this topic of spiritual geography, I'll put the picture up here for those people that don't live in Melbourne, is the Anzac War Memorial. Well, it's actually not called the Anzac War Memorial. It's the Shrine of Remembrance. Even the name should give away what I'm talking about here. And if you haven't had a chance to visit, you should definitely visit, particularly to help you understand this series. And if you haven't been there for a while, you should visit it again. Now, it was in the news recently because of the riots and things. There's a great modern example of spiritual geography. It's a physical symbol that evokes feelings and emotions. It represents things. It's designed not just to teach you things, because you could go there and you could read dates and names, but you'd learn more by Googling it or looking up an encyclopedia. But when you go there, it's designed to make you feel a certain way. It's designed to evoke feelings. And that's why it's called a shrine of remembrance. It's not just a memory aid. Oh, yes, I remember. It's designed to move you. And the Shrine of Remembrance is designed to make you feel and know the pain and the sacrifice that took place by Australian soldiers in different parts of the world. You see, physical things have a spiritual meaning. Now, most ordinary things have a very small spiritual meaning because their primary purpose is functional. Your car is functional. It gets you from A to B. Yet, spiritual things are manifest in physical things. So even ordinary physical things will remind you, have associations, bring back memories. And the longer you've owned an object, or the longer you've lived in a particular place, or the more important an object is, or the more symbolism it has, the themes that are represented in a particular object, the more feelings you'll have as you associate with this particular thing. Physical things have a spiritual meaning, and spiritual things are manifest in physical things. Now, let's dig into the passage and so you can see what Ezekiel has to say about the spiritual geography of Israel and what that means for us today. And I want to kind of use the question of a map, since it's about geography, and I want to ask you, do you have a map of your salvation? Do you have a map of your salvation? If the world is spiritual, if it's not just physical, if it's also spiritual, then do you have a map of your salvation? And do you remember the big theme of Ezekiel? The big theme of Ezekiel is, how are you going to be clean and sane in an unclean and insane world? How are you going to navigate a world that is not just physical? So you use the map on your phone, or you might have one of those old Melways, those maps of Melbourne, which you use to navigate. How are you going to navigate this spiritual geography? And Ezekiel has I have three headings to summarize Ezekiel's three main points. Where are your idols? Where is the grace? And what is your destination? Where are your idols? Where is the grace? And what is your destination? Because if there's spiritual geography, then there are going to be idols. Now, why do I say, where are your idols? Because Ezekiel starts off by saying, set your face against the mountains. I will destroy your high places. And because the Israelites had built shrines, instead of having just the temple, remember chapter 1, and I played that video from the Bible Project about the temple, because I want you to realize that because our world, because physical things have a spiritual meaning and spiritual things are manifest in physical objects, the Israelites had built shrines on the high places. Not like shrines to remember the sacrifice, but shrines to channel various powers or other gods. And a time of judgment was coming because of that, because of their idolatry. And I will just pause for a moment here on this question of, what are your idols? And it's probably good to define idolatry, to define idols. What do I mean by idols? Well, the first thing that about an idol is an idol replaces God. And more on that next week in chapter 8. An idol is also a symbol. So remember, Jesus says in Matthew 6, you can't serve both money and God. You've got to serve one. Now, obviously, Jesus isn't saying that money itself is the problem. However, money is a symbol. I should have brought a $5 note with me. It's a symbol of something. And like with everything, because everything physical is a symbol of something, and money is a particularly potent symbol, it's important what you do with that and how you manage that. And do you let it control you, or do you start to serve this particular symbol? And more on symbols in just a sec as well. So an idol replaces God. It's something that replaces God. And an idol is also symbolic. It can be an object, it can be a person, it can be a feeling, it can be an idea. Because the third thing about idolatry, the third thing that an idol does, is it's a generator of desire. It's a conduit of desire. It's a symbol of desire. And I say this because, the 10 commandments, the first commandment is have no other gods, make no idols. And the last commandment is don't covet. Make sure that your desire is only for God, not for the things your neighbor has, not for other things, but only for God. Because this is what idolatry is. Idolatry is this desire for something, and it's channeled through a symbol. Money, person, a memory, an idea, an app, whatever it is, a sensation. You use it as a channel to fulfill desire. It can be even something that you fear or upsets you, but You sort of keep returning to it in an unhealthy way. And what makes it unhealthy is that it replaces God. That's what idols are. They replace God, they're a symbol, and they're a source of desire. Well, let's take a look at what Ezekiel has to say about them, or what God says through Ezekiel. I will destroy your high places. Your altars will be demolished. Your incense altars will be smashed. And I will slay your people in front of your idols. Wherever you live, your towns will be laid waste and devastated. Your idols will be smashed and ruined. Your incense altars broken down. What you have made wiped out. These symbols that you've used to manage your desire, to enhance your desire, have replaced me, says God, and therefore they will be destroyed. John Calvin says, your heart is an idol factory. And without the grace of God, given any chance, if God is not at work saving and rescuing us, we'll turn anything into an idol. And this is important to realise. This is the question about where are your idols as we navigate through our spiritual geography. What are the places of pain and pleasure in your life and power? Let me use some personal examples to help you be able to apply this. Back in Horsham, I was taking a break, and Amy had said she was bringing the kids home early, and said, "Oh, do you want to come home for lunch?" And I said, "Oh, no, that's okay, I'm okay," because she was bringing the kids home early from school, and the highway from school, the road from school back to our place went past KFC, and there was this really amusing moment where I just texted Amy, said, "Oh, no, it's okay, I won't be home for lunch." And what I didn't say was that I was just coming out, or I'd just been in the drive-through. I texted her from the drive-through of KFC because I had bought KFC instead of going home to have the lunch that Amy had made. And as I was pulling out of the drive-through, I was sitting there with my KFC ready on the seat next to me, or perhaps even I'd started drinking from the can or something like that. And then Amy and the kids came flying past in the car. And there I was, caught right at the entrance of the drive-through of KFC, having just said, no, I won't be home for lunch. And I'd been caught red-handed at KFC.